Hi, we're going to make another bag again, but this time I'm going to put all the measurements, everything that's inside, so that if you wish you can make this. I think it's an absolutely sweet little bag. It's actually called Sweet and Sassy, and there it is. This is a red version, mine's going to be a black and pink version, so we'll just leave that there for a moment. So the batting, which is actually underneath the book, that is 1 12 by 32 inch, 1 9 by 20 inch, 1 8 by 12 inch, 1 6.5 inch square, and 1 2 inch wide times the width. Floral print is 1 9 by 20 inch, 2 6.5 inch squares, and 6 2.5 inch squares. Light print, which is my stripe, is 2 by 10.5 inch, 3 by 3.5 by 10.5 inch, 2 by 8 times 12, and 2 1.5 by 6.5 inch. And the black print, which is, if you look at the bag, theirs is red. Where theirs is red, mine is going to be black. That's the main body of the fabric, and that is 4 2.5 inch squares, 2 2.5 by 6.5 inch, 1 6 inch width of fabric, and 1 12 by 32 inch. And there you are. So let's have a look at the pattern and see where we continue. You need to iron your large items. That's the light, the floral, and the main body main body. The big one, the 12 by 32 inch. Iron them, and then use the appropriate backing that goes with each one. Spray base them, and that's the next step. So I've ironed my fabric, spray basted it to the batting, all three sizes. I've ironed the small 2.5 inch squares. There's 4 of the dark and 6 of the floral. Basically just fold them in half, press, and then along the folded edge press them over and press again. Now with your 3 large rectangles, you can either quilt them any way you wish, and you can either do straight lines, use your walking foot, or you can do your wiggly lines or whatever pattern you wish with your free motion. Or if you don't want to do those, don't bother. I'm sure it'll look just as nice when it's plain, or you can embroider it, embellish it however you wish. Once you've quilted dark, floral and light, then this is what you do. Either you cut into sections, 3 times 3.5 times 10.5, 4 times 2.5 times 10.5, 2 times 2.5 times 6.5. In the floral, which is this one, that's 2 times 6.5 times 8.5. And in the light, which is this one, that's 2 times 4.5 times 6.5. The next stage is to take the light, quilted, mark in the centre, because this is 6.5, so I can do 3.25. Place 1, and I place them this way. It doesn't say which way to place them. Place one on the end with the point to the centre. Place the other one with the point to the centre. With the point from the very end that side. From the point from the very end this side. And then the other one sits dead in the centre. And as you can see from the top one, I've pinned it, or you can use these. Right, still on the pockets. This is it sewn, and then the other side I'm going to do that by hand. You take 6.5 inch. You've already basted these 1/8 of an inch across to keep them in place. Right side together. 1/2 inch seam across there, and then turn to the back, and you can either machine stitch or hand base. I shall hand do it by hand so it doesn't show this side, and that's what it looks like. So take your floral background, that size, which is your 6.5, 8.5 inch. Put your completed and sewn pockets on the front, and then pin, and then 1/8 of an inch all the way around on both of them. So take the 2.5 by 6.5 and sew that first to the bottom of the pocket, and then sew on either side, and then repeat that for the other one. Well, there they go, that's finished. That's the bottom and the two sides sewn on both of them. It's a 1/4 inch seam, so it's 1/4 inch on the sides. There you go, and that's what it looks like. And they fitted exactly right, so I didn't have any problems there whatsoever. I assume now I just press. The 3.5 10 inch dark, sorry, 3.5 by 10.5 dark side, pin to either sides of one of the pocket. That's basically, you're going to make that the front. So you pin that either side. Don't forget your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you just stop 1/4 inch from the bottom, and then you just stop on this side 1/4 inch from the bottom. So there it's all sewn together. That's the 3.5 and the 10.5 on both sides, stopping 1/4 inch from each bottom and backtracking. Then add the back. Obviously you've now made that what we call the front. This is the other one you made, and then obviously do exactly the same. 1/4 inch seam allowance, right sides together, stopping 1/4 inch from the bottom of each one, and then you'll have a rectangle, a complete rectangle. So now it's all sewn together. If you look on the inside, and you've stopped 1/4 inch from each end, so you've got a little gap, and I assume that's for the bottom. So that's easier than what you'd think. It's fiddly, but it can be done. I did the ends first, both sides, and then I did the sides Now I haven't turned it the other way yet, so let's have a look. Well, I have no problems with that whatsoever. Yeah, as I say, I did the ends first, then the sides, and as you see I've just turned it through, and the ends look absolutely fine. So there you go, that's the side, that's that done. So that's where we are so far. So the next section is, you've got two 6.5-inch squares and a piece of batting in the floral. Make sure you've got it the way you want it, because you've got to do this right sides together. So I want my issues. If you're using floral, make sure you've got it, there you go, that's upright and that's upright. Do it right sides, you do turn this through, so right sides together and pin. See, I nearly told you wrong then. It's, you lay these right sides together on top of the batting. So I assume that once we turn them through, the batting ends up in the middle, and then we're just got to hope that when we sew, keep in mind if you've got a floral pin that needs to be facing a certain way when you do the next stage. Right, I'll explain the best way. This is the floral that we put right sides together with the batting at the bottom. Remember when I said, remember, if you've got a flower or a directional, then make sure it's at the top. Well, as you can see, if because, and I'll tell you why first, you mark 1 inch one side, 1 inch another side, and draw a diagonal line. This is the top, the right side, my flowers. 1 inch one side, 1 inch another, not this, not the bottom. This is the bottom, so therefore my flowers are in the direction of standing right that way. So therefore, in theory, that's the right way. But as you can see, this is where this bit's going to be cut off, the inch. So therefore I want my fabric, my directional, to look right going that way. So if I knock this off, we can turn it that way, so therefore that's that corner coming off. My flowers are standing upright that way, which is the way I want it. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, you mark 1 inch, 1 inch, draw a line, then cut them off. So there's my trimmed edges. I have to turn this once I've sewn, so I sew 1/4 inch all the way around, leaving this ready, not unsewn, ready to turn through. On one side you've got the batting. When you've done your 1/4 inch, then trim just the batting, not the fabric, just the batting, as close to the stitching as possible, so when you turn through you've got less bulk. So there's my trimmed edges of batting only, not fabric, so that's how it looks like. And then turn through. I assume you grab the fabric and then it all turns with the batting in the centre. Right, I've got a tool here. Push all the edges out. There you go. There you go. Now, if what I'm saying before, that's where my edges, my flowers are now pointing in the direction I want them to, standing upright, so when they're on the bag they'll be facing me. So just keep that in mind if you've got directional. Right, this is the flap that you've just turned. Right, and that's the body of your bag. Position your flap on the reverse, so whichever side you want, because they're both exactly the same as your front, then do it on the opposite side. Then you lay it down, obviously at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, basting, and make sure that you've evenly pinned it across the back. 1/8 of an inch, and then obviously when it's, and you've turned it round, you've got that one at the front and that is pointing the right direction with how you planned it. Right, this is the way I do my straps. I can't follow the way the book says. So the batting was 2 inches. I've now done that at 1 1/4 inches, and I'll tell you why. This is your 6 inch. You fold it. You fold it in half. Just fold it in half and press, and that makes in the centre a crease. Then you fold both outsides to meet in the middle on top of the crease and press. Then you open one side. I have now made this 1 1/4 inches because that's how it's, one of these sides is 1 1/2 inches. So I've made this 1 1/4. I put to the centre, not to this edge, I'll put it to the centre, turn that over and then pull that on top. So, and then obviously, so you put it to the centre and then you pull that over. There you go, and that's how, and then I'm just going to sew 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch or 3/8, whatever, or you can do how you want to sew this together, is up to you. You do one side and then you sew so it matches on the other side. Length I'm not sure yet, so but I suppose that's a personal thing how long you want it, so we'll see that on the next stage. So we'll just go through that again. That's your 6 inch black, the width of fabric. Fold it to the middle and press, making a crease, and then you fold both sides in to meet at the crease. Then you open one end, put this to meet the other side in the centre, push it over and then pull over and sew, and that's the easiest way to make a strap for your shoulder. There you go, there's my strap, and it measures I think 1 1/2 inches wide once you've folded it all together, and as you can see it's been sewn 1/4 inch from each side, and I'm very happy with that. What it wants us to do with the handles now is turn it in 1/4 inch on the end. Well, I turned it under 1/2 inch, I want to make my life easier. But if you want to do the 1/4, that's up to you. Measure 4 1/2 inches from the top of the bag down and then pin. Obviously making sure your handle isn't twisted. Do the same the other side, 4.5 inches down and pin, making sure that you've got it in the centre of your side panel. Then what you do, so if I just get there in shot for you, there you go, it's 4.5 inches down in the centre of the side panel. I turned it on about 1/2 inch, but you can, the book actually says 1/4, it's up to you. I've got plenty of handle. And it says starting from 1/2 inch, so don't start at the top, 1/2 inch down. I should follow the seam lines that I've already got on my handle, so unless I do it all the way across as if it's quilted. So it's entirely up to you how you attach it, down to the bottom, across the top bottom. Now I would go across the bottom 2 or 3 times and then back up the side again. 1/2 inch, leaving 1/2 inch gap from the top, and do that both sides. Right, I'm happy with that. That's one. Turn over. And there's the other. Don't forget to leave the 1/2 inch at the top that you don't sew. Right, the next step, it says to pull pin down, to pull handle down and pin away from the top. So pull it down and pin away from the top. I assume this is so that when you top stitch or put your lining inside, then it doesn't catch the handle. Right, this is how we do the lining. Basically, it's one of the large ones of your light. Right sides together, it's a 10.5 inch long one. One side, one the other. And then when you've sewn them on either side, then you sew your other right sides together, just like you did before when you were making your main, to make your box shape again. Well, this is all mine sewn together and it's in a box again. There you go, it's in a box shape. But don't forget that when you sew this together, you're supposed to have left the 1/4 inch, not gone as far to the bottom, leaving a 1/4 inch on all 4 bits that you've sewn. So you can now add this bit to the bottom, just like you did to the top. Right, there's mine. There's my box. Just go back a bit. There you go. And I assume you turn it inside out. Look at that. I think that was a pure fluke, but my stripes match. Might not be the right colour, but they match. There you go, there's my box. And I'm quite happy with that. That's turned out pretty okay. Everything's caught in that should be caught in, and it does make a rectangle. There you go. When you finish making the body, and then we turned it out inside out so we could have a look, basically on the instructions it said do not turn inside out, so I turned it back again to when we'd finished making the bag up, the lining bag. Then we made the casings, and there are the casings. Basically you put them 3/4 inch down from the top edge, straddling, and I'll show you the picture, and there's the picture there, straddling. You put them on the side, straddling over. I have placed the seams facing in. It doesn't actually tell you what to do with the seams, but I placed them in. Then it says, now because it says do not turn right side out, I assume they mean us to put the casings on the wrong side, because all it says is, pin casings 3/4 inch from the top of lining, centered over the lining side panels. Edge stitch long sides of casing, leaving the ends open. So basically 1/8 of an inch down both sides, but do not do the sides. Right, I mean, I've done it wrong. It wasn't clear. So if you haven't made your purse, you can actually do it the right way, or you can continue to do it this way. I'm not going to take this out. Basically what these casings are for is these are 6.5 inches long and therefore 3 inches of elastic, so it ruches it up. Now I think I can continue doing this bag, and I think it's actually a good idea to have the casings hidden. But you could have the casings on the right side and do this after that you've actually done the next stage. But it's 3/4 inch elastic, 3 inches long. You put it in one side, get it level at the end, and sew repeatedly to secure. Pull it until it's all ruched up, put it on this end, and then sew repeatedly until it's secure, and that's what root pleats it up. Do that both sides. Now I've ruched mine already because I've put them in on the wrong side instead of the right side. If I put them in the right side, I don't need to do it until after the next stage, but because I'm doing this stage they're going to be hidden, so I have to do it now. I think I can still sew that all in. Anyway, this next stage is to put the bag inside the lining. Obviously right sides together. We'll do that next stage. And don't forget the lining's the same all the way around, so it don't matter which way you put it. There's no front or back, there's no pockets. So make sure that your handle is inside and it's not in any way, not in the way of anything, so put it down the sides. Make sure it's and please make sure that them pins are not going to be in the way of your sewing, so make sure that they're well down out the way. Then it says, so obviously you will have to match the edges with the edges of these, and then sew 1/4 inch all the way around, leaving a gap on the back end where the flap is. So if you leave a gap about 3 inches or 4 inches, I would assume that is where you pull through. Well, there's my bag. That's been top stitched all around the edge, and that's the back section. So that's it so far. Now you need to put the buttons, and there's a picture of the buttons in the book. That's nice and clear. And there's a picture of the button for the front. So that's my bit. I've got my Velcro on, so I've got it 1 inch above the pocket section. That's the hook bit, and then 1 inch below the top of the pocket flap, and then obviously then they go together just like that. Well, there you go. That's, I'll try to hold that up somehow. And there's the finished article, and just build you up a bit. Well, I think that's very good. There's the buttons I used at the end of the day, and there you go. I quite like that. I think it's turned out really well, and I think I've given you all the instructions. It's a pocket at the back, it's a pocket at the front, Velcro, the inside. I mean, you could on the lining, if you wish, put another couple of pockets across there. I actually think that's very good. I quite like that. I might just have that for myself. So there you go then, that's what the cool bag was called. Sweet and Sassy. And I'll just give you the picture of the front of the book, and that's the book it was out of. There you go. It's called Purses, Bags and More. I've had quite a while. It's the first time I've done one out of it. So, well, I hope you enjoyed following that. I hope that you feel inspired enough to have a go. I like my colours. I also like the colours on the pictures. It's quite large actually, so there you go. There's the size of my hand up, so it gives you an idea how big the bag is. So, have fun. Let me know if you do it.